Welcome back to the Bearded Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Brian, where I help new players and game masters learn, play, and grow their love for tabletop RPGs. One of the most common questions I hear from game masters is, how do I run a game where my table has wildly different experience levels? Maybe you've got a veteran player who's been playing since 2nd edition. Maybe you have a casual player who just shows up when they can. And maybe you have a brand new player who's still learning what a D20 is. You have all that combined and suddenly you're juggling rules mastery, spotlight balance, pacing, and expectations all at the same table. And if you ever worried that your veterans are bored or your new players are just overwhelmed or just that you're failing at both at once, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about how to run games for mixed experience tables. Not just surviving them, but turning them into one of the strongest table dynamics you can have. So, with that being said, let's dive into this episode of the Bearded Nerd Podcast. Running a mixed experience table is challenging because everyone is playing a different game in their head. This is one of the main reasons why mixed tables are hard, but in my opinion, they're totally worth it. Oftentimes, veteran gamers want speed, they want depth, and mechanical mastery. Casual players, on the other hand, want fun, low-pressure engagement where they can joke around and do all sorts of silly things. New players want clarity, safety, and permission to make mistakes. And if you don't account for all those things, you will get frustrated on all sides. Those players will get frustrated at those things as well. So there's just frustration throughout the entire table. But here's the upside. A mixed table is also one of the best learning environments possible. Veteran players bring system knowledge, and if they are patient and kind, they become the backbone of the table and become your number one supporter. New players bring curiosity and creativity. Because they're new, they bring a sense of wonder that inspires even the most hardened game masters. Casual players, though, they keep the group grounded and they keep the table social. It's not just we come in, we play, and we get out. Casual players will bring the sense of groundedness that everyone is just there to have fun. And they remind people of that. So you do get the balance of a serious game with the fun aspect, the social aspect that occurs in casual settings. And disclaimer, I'm not saying that serious campaigns don't have an element of socialness, so to speak, but there is a social level that casual players bring that, in my opinion, is a little bit more elevated than in most other settings or campaigns. But I digress. Your job as a GM isn't to flatten those differences. It's to orchestrate them to work together, right? A good GM doesn't balance experience levels. They balance expectations. So before the dice ever hit the table, your job is to set the tone. Most problems at mixed tables start before session 1. So take your session 0 and set the tone. You need to establish 3 things during your session 0. 1, whether this is a learning friendly table or not. You need to say it out loud. Hey, this table is beginner friendly, so mistakes are expected. Let's be patient. That single sentence or sentences can give new players the psychological safety and reminds veterans to be patient. The second thing you need to establish is that speed is not the goal, right? Unless it is the goal, then state it. But if you want to take a slower approach, you need to say that speed is not the goal. My experience has been that veterans often play fast. New players need time. You're going to get the pauses, the ums, the ahs while they're looking at their character sheet, right? So make it clear that we will pause to explain rules, we will rewind mistakes, and we will prioritize understanding over efficiency. You're building a table culture. You're not speed running a dungeon. And lastly, everyone has a role at the table. Veterans aren't there just to dominate. They can be the backbone of the table. New players aren't there to be protected. They need to learn, and they need to be available to learn. They can't just shut themselves down because they feel intimidated, right? Everyone contributes differently, and that is intentional. So lay that out during session 0 when you have that mixed experience. Now, I've talked about this on other episodes of the podcast regarding managing spotlights. But at a mixed table, managing the spotlight and having spotlight imbalance is the number one danger in this mixed group. This is because the casual players may not necessarily care, or when they do have the spotlight, they may joke around and maybe not take it seriously. Veteran players want equal amounts of time because they want to shine. And new players want to shine as well, but they may feel awkward. They may feel not comfortable, to say the least. So you want to make sure that you are balancing the spotlight and that you're providing the spotlight in a way that everyone feels comfortable. So this is how you handle it. Give new players clear prompts. Instead of an open-ended question like, what do you want to do? You want to say, hey, you're face-to-face with the guard. Do you want to talk to them, sneak around them, or fight? Right? Give those constraints, because constraints create confidence. They create decisions. And that's what a new player needs. A new player needs, do you go through door 1, door 2, or door 3? Or better yet, you're in the middle of the room. There are 3 doors, and you have these options. You can go through them, you can avoid them, or you can stay where you're at, right? They need constraints. They need those direct orders because that helps make a decision, at least from their end. Second, for spotlights with veterans, let the veterans model play. Don't let them solve the riddles or whatever of the game. Not literally, just this is more figurative, but let the veterans model play, right? Don't let them solve the problems for the new players, is what I'm trying to say. Veteran players are incredible teachers when guided correctly. So encourage the veteran players to narrate their actions clearly. Say, hey, you just finished off the goblin or hobgoblin captain. Take us through, narrate what you do, and let them do it, right? And then explain why they're making choices. Talk to them about it and pull them aside and say, hey, because of these new players, do you mind explaining some of your choices, right? So on and so forth. That way they understand. And then what I said earlier about not having the veterans solve certain problems, avoid jumping in to fix things that were done, right? Talk to them and ask them to please avoid, that they would avoid jumping in to fix something that the new players did on their turn. In fact, it's like having toddlers. When you have a toddler and they fall down, right? They're going to look towards you for a reaction. If you react with crazy emotion, fear, worry, they start to cry. But if you encourage them to say, hey, are you okay? Are you good? Hey, that was a good save. Way to go. And you give them a high five. They are the most resilient little things you'll ever meet, but you just gave them a boost of confidence. You just gave them this sense of I can do it because you didn't fix their problem. Same thing that when they're trying to solve problems, when toddlers are trying to solve something, unless they ask you specifically for help, just avoid trying to help them. Let them figure it out. It is a problem solving part of their brain that needs to be developed. And it's the same thing in RPGs. New players are going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? We may not play as efficiently as possible, but veteran players, let them make those mistakes so that they can learn and avoid trying to fix their quote mess ups. Again, the veteran players should be demonstrating play, not dictating it. And then from there, just rotate as normal, right? Track who's been active. If the veteran players are solving the big problems, turn to the new player and say, okay, moment's yours. What do you want to do? Right? You don't need timers. You could put 10, 15 minutes on the clock and go from there, but you just need to be aware, right? Just be intentional with how you rotate the spotlight. Casual players, hey, you kind of talk to them. And again, casual players can also be veteran players, but they're taking a more casual approach to the game. They don't want something intense. They want to blow off steam because they work hard. They have family and other commitments where tabletop RPGs are their pressure release. This is how they have fun. So rotate the spotlight with them too. Hey, you need to convince the shopkeeper about XYZ. Here you go. Go ahead, right? And you want to rotate the spotlight intentionally, also based upon what they like to do. Maybe that casual player is more of a role player. So have them do a lot of the role play stuff. Have the new players do this and have the veterans do something else, right? But be intentional. No matter what, be intentional. All right, so we have gone through a lot, but one thing that veteran players listening to this are going to have in the back of their minds is rules. How do you handle rules without killing the momentum, right? Veteran players have such a mastery over rules. New players don't. So sometimes it can slow the game to a crawl. It could also make new players feel dumb. So game masters out there, you all have an awesome opportunity to introduce balance. Use the good enough rulings, right? The things that if a rule question kind of stalls the momentum, make the ruling, move on, and look it up later. You can just say simply, we'll go with this for now because it's the rule of cool, or we'll go with this now because it benefits the party and we'll revisit next session, right? It just keeps things flowing and models flexibility. From there, just teach them. Teach the rules when they matter, right? Don't front load mechanics, but when things come up, just say, oh yeah, hey, when this occurs, then that happens, right? Give them context and be brief about it. New players learn best through play, not by lecturing, right? You can throw a podcast or a YouTube video, but they learn best through playing. At the end of the day, that's the best teacher. And this is where you recruit your veteran players. Let the veterans be the rule references. Designate one of those veteran players. If you have more, great, but one of them, if you have only one, obviously, that person, to be the rules helper. Not the rules enforcer, just the rules helper. When there is a question about a rule, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, do you remember what this rule is about? Okay, cool. And they can provide an answer when asked. Or they just stay silent. I don't know. But the rules helper is not rules lawyering. They are helping you kind of remind the party what the rules are for XYZ. I have a veteran in my table, in my Star Wars 5e game, and I have 2 or 3 veterans that I have, and they're awesome because when I forget a rule, they come up with it because I can ask them, especially one of them was a game master, and this is their this game is their chance to play. So when I have a rule about something, they jump in because I asked them to, right? It works. It relieves a lot of stress and pressure off me as the game master. So I'm telling you, it works. But with all that being said, your prep is now going to be a little different with this kind of mixed experience, which is okay. So when you design your sessions, use a multi-layered encounter approach, right? You want to design scenes that reward tactical thinking, creative role play, emotional choices, right? So every type of player shines, and offer choices, not correct answers, right? There's no correct answer. You want optimization. You want new experience. Nothing is going to feel wrong if you do it this way. And lastly, celebrate growth. I want you as the game master to really consider celebrating the wins for that new player. When they try something creative, give them inspiration. When they take the initiative, compliment them on that. When they role play for the first time, celebrate it publicly, right? And obviously when problems arise, which they will, talk to them privately. Frame it in a way. If a veteran starts to dominate and make others feel weird, frame it as leadership, not criticism. Like, hey, I appreciate your leadership, but I noticed that this player felt a little off. So just back it down a little bit, right? Or if a new player shuts down, check in on them one-on-one. Ask what would help them feel comfortable. And if casual players are drifting, hey, give them some hooks. Give them something to hook them back into the game, right? This isn't a silver bullet, but I will say running a table with mixed experience is a great opportunity to grow as a party. It's a chance to teach the game, grow the community, and build a table culture rooted in patience and creativity. And that's how the hobby survives and thrives. When you run those mixed tables, you're not just creating better sessions, you're creating better players. Like I said, it just is a net positive. So if you want a more in-depth prep guide for mixed experience tables, make sure to check out Patreon, which is linked in the show notes. And until next time, y'all, remember, the goal is to prep less and play more. So trust your table, support them as much as you can. And this is Brian wishing you a great day. Be blessed. And as always, folks, keep gaming.